Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. We're here. We're alive. Barely. We are streaming today through my beautiful 5G connection on my mobile phone in the hotspot. It's tenuous at best. And I'll do my best. After all, we can't go too long without having the Wake Up America show. You know, I know how you feel. I kind of miss you guys whenever we don't get to do the show, especially when there's so much news going on. Yesterday, we had some technical problems. Things started to fall apart. I have no idea what's going to happen. It might fall apart again today. The internet. Hey. Calm down there, Peanut Gallery. We've got a lot of fun content, and we're going to do our best to get through it today. We got Melania Peterson on the show today. Yeah. Aren't you ready? Aren't you excited? Aren't you happy? We're going to stream the Wake Up America show live. Not going to have any internet problems. Just bless it. Bless it. Can't you bless me with something?
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, God.
Honey,
gosh.
Please.
Can you suck it?
What?
We've got a lot to discuss today. Got some tough math. The Republican euphoria over the election, the mandate, I'm calling it. That's the White House, the Senate, the House of Representatives, the Supreme Court, and the national popular vote. That's a mandate. The Republican euphoria, though, is being punctured by some tough math in the House, especially as Donald Trump is making some cabinet appointments or purported cabinet appointments. Some people are not confirmed. The latest news, Kristi Noem would be appointed to the Department of Homeland Security, which I'm actually a Kristi Noem fan. Is she perfect? No. But then again, they're not all like me. You know what I'm saying? If you wanted a perfect Department of Homeland Security pick, you would have called 816-260 and the rest of my phone number. House Republicans are on the verge, though, of clinching this majority, and we're taking a victory lap, and it's well-deserved. But the slim margin and the unruly nature of many Republicans could undercut efforts to pass President-elect Donald Trump's agenda. Votes are still being counted in some races. The focus is turning to House Republican leaders who are still bruised from infighting that led to the youster of the GOP speaker last time and all of those embarrassing failed votes that we had. The squabbles were exacerbated by the party's historically small majority, currently at 220 to 212 with 3 vacancies, and leaders now need to wrangle a similarly tiny advantage next year. The news that Marco Rubio may be appointed as Secretary of State came with many a boo, many a jeer from many of my friends online. Those people should be watching the Wake Up America show because I could have helped them to manage their expectations. My expectation was that we would get about as many libertarians in the cabinet or about as many libertarians in positions of high office in the federal government as we are represented by percentage-wise libertarians in the Republican Party, which is slim to none. That's right, Tubby. My bet on supporting Donald Trump was that the odds might actually be slim and that we might get at least one person, maybe a Vivek Ramaswamy, in an important position. But, you know, I'm not a Tulsi Gabbard guy in the sense that she's really not a libertarian like you and I are a libertarian, right? She's good on some issues like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., right? They're more left libertarian or maybe just more moderate Democrat, really. But as for my ideological interests, the people who share my philosophy or my ideology, my expectation was that we would get lucky if we even had Vivek Ramaswamy in a position. And while he hasn't been named anything yet, I expect he will. And then to me, that satisfies the expectation of the possibility of there being a libertarian in Donald Trump's cabinet. I think the problem is that when it comes to questions like Marco Rubio, oh, he's a neocon, he's part of the old establishment, we don't want him in there. You have to remember, one, that Trump wants people that are loyal. That's a big problem that he faced in his first administration. Two, you learned the wrong lessons from John Donald Trump's interview with Joe Rogan when he talked about John Bolton and why he hired John Bolton and why he criticized John Bolton. You see, I see a lot of libertarians out there thinking, many of them who decided to support Donald Trump maybe a day before the election and therefore have no leverage and no standing here other than just the fact that they voted for him. They did nothing to help get him elected, but now they decided that they're going to be the ones who will tell him what his picks will be or decide to be upset this way or that way when they did absolutely jack shit. We'll come back to that later. Right, I'm giving you real politics here, right? There's my philosophy, there's my ideology, right? And then there is my years of grizzled veteran experience. Happy Veterans Day yesterday to all the real veterans. Me, just a veteran of campaigning. But I'll use my Purple Heart to share with you my war stories about what I've learned about electoral politics as I've tried to advance libertarianism through electoral politics and through, of course, the media, which apparently now I've got a lot more competition. I'm kind of scared, guys. Did you hear about this? Did you guys hear this? This is kind of, honestly, I launched the For Liberty Network, and thank God I did, because I probably am about to be completely taken over. I know you guys, as soon as you hear the news about the new podcast coming out, you guys, maybe I shouldn't even mention my new competitor, but Chris Wallace apparently leaving CNN. Look out. He's coming to do some podcasts. Oh no, he's going to do a podcast. Yeah, Chris Wallace. We'll talk about that. I'm really intrigued by a couple of stories like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez posting on her timeline asking the question of her voters, the people who voted for her and voted for Donald Trump. She was actually asking her supporters for some of the podcasts or shows that they listen to. If you're on the right, if you liked Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, which obviously I'm not a fan, but if you wanted to let Ocasio-Cortez know which show you listen to, by the way, maybe she should tune in over here. It's not all just Joe Rogan, right? There are a few of us out here on the right. We're not all just Alex Jones or Joe Rogan. It's not just the guys who get millions and millions of views, but there are some people who have dedicated, hardcore, committed, smaller audiences, perhaps, maybe even smaller than Chris Wallace's when he launches his podcast. He is rich and famous and can spend a lot of money on advertising after all. But maybe there are people out there like myself who people listen to and they don't buy into the mainstream media's bullshit. I think that's someone like you. Someone like you watched someone like me. Then suddenly nothing could ever be the same. What show is that from? Republicans gain House majority in 2024 election. We've got a mandate. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got trouble right here in River City. And the River City is a capital J and a capital C, and that's Jefferson City. That stands for Jefferson City, I tell ya. If someone like you loved me. Republican euphoria punctured by tough math in the House. Okay, so where should we go? We got a billion clips. Some Democrats are learning their lessons. Some Democrats aren't learning their lessons. Honestly, I prefer the ones who aren't learning their lessons to the ones who are learning their lessons. And as much as I have really been enjoying what Bill Maher has been saying in recent years, somebody did sort of puncture my my confirmation bias bubble, or perhaps my hope bubble, that Bill Maher might be starting to come around to our point of view on things, when reality is that he is really just giving the Democrats tough love, right? But he does love the Democrats and he does want them to succeed, which is why he's criticizing them so harshly in conversations and statements sort of like these. Take a listen.
What I hear from the usual suspects, I'll call them on the left in the media, is just, again, not looking in the mirror.
They didn't call him Hitler loudly enough.
Or that just a lot of people texted me things like, well, you can't fix stupid. Sorry, that doesn't work with me. Yeah, you're stupid because you're not thinking about the bigger picture. You're not thinking about maybe we did something wrong. Maybe.
They stopped laughing as soon as he said, maybe you're stupid. They don't want to hear that. They hated Jesus because he told him the truth. Shut up. The Pharisees cried.
We're not perfect. It's like a relationship. You got dumped. America dumped you, and they're all like, you don't know what you had.
Right?
Good
Good
point.
point.
They do. They know what they had, and what they're saying is, we know what we had, and you're a mess.
No, Bill. They're doing a great job. We want them to continue, right? Right, everybody? Democrats do a good job. They're doing a good job. We really hope that they continue doing what they're doing because it's obviously an important lesson. Good morning, guys. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We are live. God bless it. God will bless you if you bless me with something.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Money wise. Please.
Can you suck it?
What?
Don't forget, guys, that we are completely funded by users and listeners just like you. Make sure that you click the like button. And if today's your first time watching the Wake Up America Show, we'll help you hit the subscribe, the subscribe button. You will follow the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Come back and join us. The show's live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9. Well, when we have internet, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a 2-hour live stream. Glad to have our friends joining us regularly. Some people are sending us text messages. Again, 573-319-1586 is the text line. I'm very excited whenever I see people send me text messages, especially fun little YouTube videos. One listener, Fred Frickety, says, I've just found out from Benny Johnson's show, Tom Homan is going to be Trump's border czar. That's good news. I think they should call the mass deportation operation Operation Homeward Bound. You have connections, send it. No, I think they need to go back to the old way that they used to name the deportation things, and they used to call it like Operation Wetback. That's racist. It's racist. Racist. You can't say that their backs are wet. No.
Again. And we know what happens to these children, Sean. And look, the illegal aliens coming across the border, people need to understand, 31% of women that make that journey get raped by criminal cartels. Children get raped. I've talked to little girls as young as 9 that have been raped multiple times. These cartels are animals, and that's why President Trump's going to take them off the face of the earth. They have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world. And President Trump is committed to calling them terrorist organization and using the full might of the United States Special Operations to take them out.
There you go. That's your new border czar there. Tom Homan. Homan. Oh, man. He was a thief. You gotta believe.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Yeah, that is funny. Hey, how we doing, guys? Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time for Wake Up America and the Muppet Show tonight. We've got 200 people watching us live over on Rumble. How many likes do we have? 15. What's going on over there? Operation Better Luck Next Time. Operation Hydraulic Acceleration Catapult. You guys, that's terrible. Terrible. Robbie Thurman, thanks for joining us. He stole my heart and my cat. Exactly. Thank you, Barney. Somebody got it. She was a thief. You gotta believe. Now, where else are you gonna get references that layered over anywhere but the Wake Up America Show? No, I don't think so. So why? 25 likes. Thank you, guys. Morning Joe host Mika Brzezinski took the unprecedented step of reading out New York Times opinion columnist Maureen Dowd's indictment of how identity politics hampered the Democratic election bid. The editorial, Democrats in the Case of Mistaken Identity Politics. Great title, Maureen. was published last Saturday, but it was honored with a full reading on a Morning Joe segment that lasted more than 10 minutes. I thought that was quite interesting. Let's take a listen and react.
We're going to do something a little different this morning because we're going to read the entire piece, but it's worth it. I think a lot of people have already been talking about this. We got a lot of calls about this piece, and it's an interesting message for Democrats. Maureen Dowd's piece for the New York Times entitled Democrats and the Case of Mistaken Identity Politics. It really crystallized how some Democrats are finally waking up and realizing that woke is broke. And Maureen writes this: Donald Trump won a majority of white women and remarkable numbers of Black and Latino voters and young men. Democratic insiders thought people would vote for Kamala Harris even if they didn't like her, to get rid of Trump. But more people ended up voting for Trump, even though many didn't like him, because they liked the Democratic Party less. I've often talked about how my dad stayed up all night on the night Harry Truman was elected because he was so excited. And my brother stayed up all night the first time Trump was elected because he was so excited. And I felt that Democrats would never recover that kind of excitement until they could figure out why they had turned off so many working class voters over the decades and why they had developed such disdain toward their once loyal base. Democratic candidates have often been avatars of elitism. Michael Dukakis, Al Gore, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton, and second-term Barack Obama. The party embraced a worldview of hyper-political correctness, condescension, and cancellation. And it supported diversity statements for job applicants and faculty lounge terminology like Latinx and Black, Indigenous, people of color.
Well, you can't say BIPOC, Mika. You don't know. You're not up on the latest terminology. It's by people of color, Black, Indigenous, people of color, by people of color. In living color, you can do what you want to do.
This alienated half of the country or more.
More.
And the chaos and anti-Semitism at many college campuses certainly didn't help. When the woke police came at you, Rahm Emanuel told me, you don't even get your Miranda rights read to you. There were a lot of Democrats barking, people who don't represent anybody, he said, and the leadership of the party was intimidated. Donald Trump played to the irritation of many Americans, disgusted at being regarded as insensitive for talking the way they'd always talked. At rallies, he referred to women as beautiful and then pretended to admonish himself, saying he'd get in trouble for using that word.
Right.
Those strong, and I would say beautiful, but I'm not allowed to use that term anymore with women because if you say beautiful, it means the end of your career in politics. You're not allowed to say a woman's beautiful, so I will not tell you how beautiful they are, but they are beautiful. But those strong, beautiful, intelligent women, they won.
Yeah, they're tired. We were tired of the Human Resources Department telling us how to live and how our society should be. You can't tell a woman that she's beautiful anymore. You know what? You should be able to tell a woman she's beautiful. The woman shouldn't be allowed to be offended or upset about it. I don't know why she would be. They usually are. They're only usually offended when they're actually beautiful, but then they're offended when you don't call them beautiful anymore, when they're not beautiful anymore. Somehow the Camellia managed to avoid that, though, because she's a little older than I am, and she's still beautiful. Am I allowed to say that? Am I not allowed to say that? We're going to make Camellia blush this morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. I can't wait. I can't wait. Ah-ra-ta-ta. We've got a lot to do, so it's 1 cup or is it 2?
Continuing with Maureen Dowd, one thing that makes Democrats great is that they unabashedly support groups that have suffered from inequality. But they have to begin avoiding extreme policies that alienate many Americans who would otherwise be drawn to the party. Democrats learned the hard way in this election that mothers care, and this is a key line in this piece, that mothers care both about abortion rights and having their daughters compete fairly and safely on the playing field. Keep that in mind.
And keep this in mind. A revealing chart that ran in the Financial Times showed that white progressives, and this is how it has been for too long, white progressives hold views far to the left of the minorities they champion. White progressives think at higher rates.
Oh, yes, yes. Don't tell them, Joe. Don't tell them. Don't let them know the secrets of the white savior complex that we voted against the other day. We're tired of these left liberal white female HR managers trying to claim victimhood status and stepping in being offended by other people on their behalf. We're tired of that bullshit. We're done with it. This is so good. It's so juicy. Aren't you glad that my mobile phone hotspot is actually functional? Help to pay the cell phone bill. Won't you please bless me with something?
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Money-wise. Please.
Can you suck it?
See,
What?
the internet connection, the internet bill on my phone this month is probably going to be pretty heavy because of me streaming this show this morning over through my mobile device while we struggle to figure out what's going on with the internet in the studio. So can you bless me with something? Make a Rumble Rant donation or go to forlibertyshop.com. The #1 top-selling product for the last few weeks especially. Dark MAGA hats. Dark MAGA hats. Yes, get them. Elon Musk's dark MAGA hat at forlibertyshop.com. All right, back to the white ladies offended on other people's behalf.
Than Hispanic and Black Americans that, quote, racism is built into our society. And get this, many more Black and Hispanic Americans surveyed compared with white progressives responded that, quote, America is the greatest country in the world.
Gobsmacked Democrats have reacted to the wipeout in different ways. Some think Kamala did not court the left enough, touting trans rights and repudiating Israel. Other Democrats feel the opposite, calling on the party to reimagine itself. Marie Glusenkamp.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, Andy Opperman says, here's the truth about white progressives. They are actually racist. They truly believe others are inferior. That is why they see racism everywhere. Correct. An example of this would be they don't think that black people are smart enough to be able to know where to go to get an ID so that they can go and use it to go vote, for example. That's an example of like the soft bigotry of low expectations, they call this, Andy. There you go. There's the highfalutin term for it. I don't want to put on ass.
Vulnerable Democrat in a red congressional district in Washington narrowly held her seat. The 36-year-old mother of a toddler and owner of
we're coming for New York, the state of New York. I mean, I think we're going to get him. We're going to turn him red. Maybe not. We'll see.
Auto shop told the Times, Annie Carney, that Democratic condescension has to go. There's not one weird trick that's going to fix the Democratic Party, she said. It's going to take parents of young kids, people in rural communities, people in the trades running for office, and being taken seriously. On CNN, the Democratic strategist Julie Roginski said that Democrats did not know how to talk to normal Americans. Take a look.
We are not the party of common sense, which is what the message that voters sent to us. For a number of reasons. We don't know how to speak to voters. When we address Latino, and language has meaning. When we address Latino voters as Latinx, for instance, because that's the politically correct thing to do. It makes them think that we don't even live on the same planet as they do.
Don't tell the Democrats this. Don't do it. No. It's not true.
How dare you?
Keep calling them Latinx. Man, that was really amazing. All of the Latinas and the Latinos, even my sister, she's like, I'm not Latina. Well, she's adopted. I'm not Latinx. It's like they all hated that, right? They like being called Latinas and Latinos. They love their gendered language. And they wanted to keep their gendered language. Well, now they voted for Donald Trump. And if you like your gendered language, you can keep your gendered language. Let's continue.
When we are too afraid to say that, hey, college kids, if you're trashing a campus at Columbia University because you're unhappy about some sort of policy and you're taking over a university and you're trashing it and preventing other students from learning, that is unacceptable. But we're so worried about alienating one or another cohort in our coalition that we don't know what to say when normal people look at that and say, wait a second, I send my kids to college so they can learn, not so that they can burn buildings and trash lawns, right?
Maureen Dowd continues. Kamala, a Democratic lawmaker, told me, made the colossal mistake of running a billion-dollar campaign with celebrities like Beyonce, when many of the struggling working-class voters she wanted couldn't even afford a ticket to a Beyonce concert, much less a down payment on a home. I don't think the average person, said Kamala Harris, gets what I'm going through, this Democrat said. Kamala, who sprinted to the left in her 2020 Democratic primary campaign, tried to move toward the center for this election, making sure to say she'd shoot an intruder with her Glock. But it sounded tinny. The Trump campaign's most successful ad showed Kamala favoring tax-funded gender surgery for prisoners. Bill Clinton warned in vain that she should rebut it. James Carville gave Kamala credit for not leaning into her gender and ethnicity, but he said the party had become enamored of identitarianism, a word he uses because he won't say woke, radiating the repellent idea that identity is more important than humanity.
No. Don't tell them. Don't believe him, Democrats. He's lying. You need to lean into the identity politics. You must accept that identity is everything. Identity is the most important thing. You must continue to agree with the National Socialists that your identity and your ethnicity and the location of your where you were born is your destiny. That is what it is. Show me your ethnicity and I will show you your destiny. You are tied to your blood and you can never, ever break free of the chains that held your ancestors down 250 years ago in the United States. Once a slave, always a slave, Democrats. Good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm glad to have you here. I'm just thankful that the internet is working. I'm streaming it through my mobile phone. Seems to be working, yes. Hi, guys. Are you happy I'm here? Then do me a favor, click that like button. And if today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, we'd love to have you follow the channel. Click the follow button. That way you can come back and join us every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a 2-hour morning live stream. It's a great way to start your day to get you informed on what's going on in the world. We always have a billion clips, and we have the greatest guests, like Amelia Peterson, who will join me live this morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. If you'd like to hear her, make sure you come back. If you have to leave, I understand. So everybody's got to eat their Wheaties or their oatmeal and then come back and join me, or just listen to us while you're eating your Wheaties or your oatmeal and hang out. With 208 people joining us live this morning over on Rumble. Hi, guys. 207 people joining us live. We got 40 likes. Let's get 100 likes if we can. 50% like rate. Luke Sacker reminds us of this hilarious story. The Call Me Daddy podcast that Kamala Harris was interviewed on was shot on a duplicated set, $100K to build. Now, listen, I knew that they spent $100K on the Call Me Daddy podcast situation, but I didn't know. I thought that they just paid $100,000 to get like the endorsement of the Call Me Daddy people. So you're telling me, Luke Sacker, that the $100,000 that the Democrats spent on going on that sex talk, the gossip podcast, that was just to build a set? Was maybe it was just to like ensure for like national security, for her security reasons or something like that. The data, $100,000. Oh my God! You know what I can do with $100,000 for a studio? I can have a studio with internet connection. We'd be glad to have all of our friends joining us live every day, but we can't always do that. So if you enjoy the show and you have to go, then please do click that like button before you leave today. You can also send us a text if you'd like to chat with me at 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open at 573-319-1586. Conservative analyst Scott Jennings explained the overlap in voter support for President-elect Donald Trump and progressive Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez by branding both part of an authentic class of politicians different from what people are used to.
To know how there is a Venn diagram I think many of us want to know, where voters see similarities between her and the president-elect, who is basically her polar opposite.
I would like to know, too, because, you know, I guess people who would vote for Donald Trump and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, there does seem to be some strong cognitive dissonance, I think, going on. But I mean, you know, people who believe that, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is just, she's authentic because she's kind of hot and she talks to people through live streams and uses TikTok and the modern technology. But I mean, like, her philosophy or ideology is just more of the same grinding leftist communist bullshit that we've been suffering under since Karl Marx shat it out in the 1880s.
There's a not insignificant amount of down-ballot Democrats like myself for which there were Trump AOC precincts or Trump/Democratic House or Senate member precincts. And that, I think, is a very rich environment for us to dig into. If you voted for Donald Trump and me, or if you voted for Donald Trump and voted Democratic down ballot, I would really love to hear from you. I actually want to learn from you.
I mean, we all do.
Yeah,
to be
sure.
honest.
No, you don't. I mean, you don't want to learn your lessons. They want to. Here's what they want to know. The Democrats want to learn just enough so they can get back power, so they can continue to grind the rest of us all down into dust perpetually. That they want to know just enough to get back into power, but they're out of power. We have the White House, we have the Senate, we have the Supreme Court, we have the House of Representatives, and we even won the popular vote, baby. Oh, I'm feeling sexy these days.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I think it is. People are sick and tired of fake, inauthentic politicians who can only operate off of a script, who are being handed things by consultants, whose every movement and facial expression is rehearsed. And the thing that Trump and AOC have in common is that they both appear to be authentically speaking what's on their mind and what's in their heart at any given time. It's as plain as day, the rejection of the political class in favor of the authentic class. And sometimes they're contradictory, and sometimes they say things that make you lift an eyebrow, but that's the thread.
I think you're spot on about that. So I'm going to read, though, what she heard back from her constituents. One said, you are focused on the real issues people care about, similar to Trump.
By the way, Mark Verano, thank you for the Rumble rant. That's a very interesting Rumble rant. You gave $1 and you said $5, but I don't know what you're trying to say with that. That's very, but I'm grateful, Mark. Thank you.
Populism in some ways. Another said, it's real simple. Trump and you care for the working class. Wanted to change, so I went with Trump and blue for the rest of the ballot to put some brakes. Both of you push boundaries and force growth. But I mean, to Scott's point, I hear when voters say, okay, it's about the populism and the working class, but I do think it's also about the tone, the vibe of the candidate.
Yes.
They're learning, but they're not learning. You know, they don't seem to be learning the right lessons, apparently. That's okay. We don't want them to learn the right lessons right away. We want them to continue to double down on stupid opinions and reportings like this.
Mar-a-Lago has basically been brimming for the last 2 days, I'm told, with two kinds of people. Those angling for a job and those who are trying to influence Trump into hiring their picks. But one person has loomed over all of that. His name is Elon Musk. Multiple sources tell me tonight that Musk has been seen at Mar-a-Lago nearly every single day since Donald Trump won, dining with him on the patio at times. Today, they were seen on the golf course together. Musk has been in the room when world leaders have called Trump. And tonight, we've learned he's also weighing in on staffing decisions, making clear his preference for certain roles even. Publicly tonight, Elon Musk is backing Florida Senator Rick Scott as the next leader of the Republican conference to replace Mitch McConnell. While Musk himself is still not expected to take any kind of formal position inside Trump's administration, given how complicated it would be with his companies, what's becoming clearer tonight is that he doesn't really need to, with one source telling me Elon Musk is having just as much influence from the outside.
There we go. Well, that's what we voted for. That's what we wanted. We wanted Elon Musk to have more. The more influence that Elon Musk has, the better. And I think that my guest at 8 a.m. Central Time will agree. And in 20 minutes, we'll speak to Camelia Peterson. She's a big Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez fan. No, I'm just kidding, but she does like Chris Wallace, and I'm sure she's going to listen and watch his podcast as well. Just kidding. No, she's a big Elon Musk fan, so make sure you stick around. 20 minutes from now, we'll hear from Camellia Peterson. Here's what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez looks like. She posted it on her Instagram account.
Which podcasts are you listening to? Which accounts are you subscribing to? I'm interested, like genuinely. Let me know which ones specifically, which accounts, which podcasts, etc.
So here's what I'm asking. If you can bless me with something.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh,
God.
Money-wise.
Money-wise.
Please.
Can you
I'm not asking for an appointment in the Trump administration, but I am asking you to go over to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Instagram. Looks like a story. And go to her stories and answer the question of which podcasts and accounts the people that you like. And since you're obviously here, you like the Wake Up America show, go send her to rumble.com/AP for Liberty. Yeah. And Liberty Tonight in Culturama on the For Liberty Network as well at forlibertynetwork.com. Let her know you listen to AP, good old AP for Liberty at rumble.com/AP for Liberty. Let her know that's who you're listening to these days. Here's a name that has been floated as the potential new director of the CIA, Kash Patel. Who's Kash Patel?
You need a 24/7 declassification office, whatever you want to call it. Transparency, truth, whatever, I don't care. Sits in the White House, reports directly to you, and you take incoming from the United States of America. I want JFK. I want the 9/11 files. I want this. I want that. All the FBI, and this is a tool, this is something we didn't cover. What the deep state uses the most to cover up their corruption is an illegal application of the classification system. Remember the Lovebirds text from, this is a beauty, the Lovebirds text from FBI, DOJ land, Russiagate, Strzok and Page were texting each other. They were running the Russiagate investigation against Trump. They were the head of the counterintelligence unit at the FBI, and they're having an extramarital affair together. Can't make this stuff up. They're sending each other texts about how much they hate Trump and are going to create an insurance policy to stop Trump. Then we finally find those text messages. You know what the FBI and DOJ do for like a year? Redact them to congressional investigators and congressional men and women running the oversight of their agency.
I would do anything for love. Yes, I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. Thank you, Entropy Nomad, for your $5 donations. I would do anything for love, almost do anything for love. Kash Patel, let's continue.
That's just one example. But it gets even better. Here's the deep state full circle. Just last week, do you know what Strzok and Page received from the Department of Justice?
What?
A $1.5 million payout to settle a lawsuit that Strzok and Page brought for the improper disclosure of their personal text messages on FBI phones. And the DOJ just rewarded them. They broke the law. They broke the chain of command. They broke every regulation there is in the FBI. They weaponized the system of justice against a political target they hated. We found those text messages, and we got them declassified finally in full when I became Deputy Director of National Intelligence. And the world has now seen them, and they can read them. And that's the best form of transparency. That's why I want this 24/7 declassification office. Don't have me regurgitate it to you. Read it. Get the documents, get the files, get the memos. But the deep state came full circle and gave these guys a payday for rigging a presidential election and breaking the law. So now you know what happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kash Patel, we have a winner. I could go for a guy like that as the head of the CIA. What do you think? Thoughts? Love to earn your like. Click that like button. And I'd love it if you would also follow the channel if today is your first time watching and listening to the Wake Up America show, and you come back and join us. It'd be great to have you be a regular guest. Hikaru Kitsune Onegashimasu says, I see the Kiwi Farms contingent is here in the chat. I have no idea what that means. All thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs. Very true, and I have no idea what the hell you're talking about over there. If you'd like to join the Wake Up America show, get that notification. Got that notification. One listener sending me a text says, I used to have a T-Mobile hotspot at home, and at that time had to buy it. I don't need it anymore. Would you like me to send it to you so you can have it available? I'm guessing reconfigured as a backup. I appreciate that. The only thing about that is that I think it's just as useful as like my mobile phone, for example. It would have the exact same speed as my mobile phone. I've already got it, but I appreciate that very much. Thank you for that opportunity. If I wanted to, they would give me the device for free at T-Mobile if I signed up for like another account. And I, for a little while, I actually did have that as a backup because the internet here was really bad for a long time. Many of you don't remember, like a year and a half ago when I first was kind of getting the show kicked off, we were having horrible problems with the internet, and it was choppy all of the time. So hopefully we will get the internet situation fixed up. But thank you for your generous offer. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. You guys are amazing. We're talking about Donald Trump's potential appointment picks this morning. We're talking about Democrats who maybe have or maybe haven't learned their lessons. I was just playing for you a little bit from Kash Patel. Kash Patel, if you don't know who he is an American attorney and former government official. He served as a U.S. National Security Council official and a senior advisor to the acting director of national intelligence and chief of staff to the acting United States Secretary of Defense during the Trump presidency. Member of the Republican Party, Patel previously worked as a senior aide to Congressman Devin Nunes when he chaired the House Intelligence Committee. He was previously a federal public defender and a federal prosecutor working on national security cases and a legal liaison to the United States Armed Forces. All right, I'm going to take a break. When I get back, guys, don't go away. I'm going to go get Camelia Peterson. We'll be right back to have her react to Donald Trump's picks thus far. Enjoy the commercials. Visit 4libertyshop.com. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
It's me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state! Reject the Antichrist! Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins!
Four great schools. First, we will respect the right of parents to control the education of their children. Second, we will empower parents and local school board to hire and reward great principals and teachers, and also to fire the poor ones, the one whose performance is unsatisfactory. They will be fired. Like on The Apprentice, you're fired. Third, we will ensure our classrooms are focused not on political indoctrination, but on teaching the knowledge and skills needed to succeed. Reading, writing, math, science, arithmetic, and other truly useful subjects. Fourth, we will teach students to love their country, not to hate their country like they're taught right now.
I love it. I love it. All the education reforms, abolishing the Department of Education. You would think that libertarians would be happy, but they're not. They're never happy. They're miserable people in general. You know how it is. Let's speak to one right now. At least she's nice. Peterson joins us this morning. Are you feeling a little salty today, Camelia? DM about the Trump picks, and I was just kind of like, somebody had a little salt this morning.
I'm really glad that you played that clip right before my segment, because now I'm excited again, right? But I'm also like, show me the money. Like deliver, baby, because like words, boy, they're whisper sweet nothings in my ears, but they better not be nothings.
All right, no, good point. Melania, welcome to the show. It's nice to see you again. We're glad to have you here. We've had a few kind of days to decompress. I mean, you burned out the shoe leather in this election. You, more than most, can say that you played a significant role in helping Donald Trump get elected president of the United States. So congratulations and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's great. Like it was, nationally, I just love to see it. We worked, congressional Senate races in, some of the swing states. So, we did not get Wisconsin, but, it was a valiant effort, but we did get, McCormick in Pennsylvania, and we got Bernie Moreno in Ohio. And right. I think those will both be great. And we have the Senate majority now, which is, we desperately needed. So yeah, and at the state level, kind of mixed results as usual, right? But I am fairly optimistic.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we definitely want to talk about what happened here in Missouri with abortion now being enshrined in our Constitution, which is sad and painful. I got so many messages from people, many of them who weren't paying attention very much during the election. And then they were like, Austin, how do we reverse this? How do we get this out? How do we fight against it? How do we stop it? I'm like, hey, welcome. It's the adventures of the guy who just started paying attention. Where you been? What's been going on? Well, I'm really busy. I got my whole life. I was like, yeah, we're all really busy here. But in the meantime, some of us are fighting for, our freedoms, for the unborn, for the freedoms of the unborn. You don't get to pontificate on your high horse once every 4 years after the election is already over. People weren't paying attention a whole lot, Camelia, and it's kind of like I'm a little irritated by some of the people on our own side. The left is useless, but when I see these people freaking out about, oh, they named Marco Rubio Secretary of State, or you're like, Christy, no, and all that kind of stuff. I give you a pass. I give Tom Woods a pass. You guys you paid attention, you contributed, but too many other people are just kind of like, well, where have you been to some extent, right? So
yeah, I tend to give people a little more, I don't know, leeway, I guess, because it's hard, right? It's hard to keep up with all of the crap that just comes out like
what? So what? It's hard. Wish. Then shut up.
Here's
you
what I
can
would
have
say though.
opinion, but like, shut up. Like, really?
It's
like,
well, sure,
it's
it's hard.
Well, then you don't. Then no opinion.
But
it's too
yes,
hard.
I would say it's hard.
If it's too hard,
but
then you don't get to think about things. Then you don't think about things. You don't get an opinion.
It's still on you to find people. Like if you can't keep up with it all, it's still on you to find people that you can trust that can keep up with the various areas so that you're at least making a semi-informed opinion. And if you don't do that, then that's definitely on you, because I don't expect anybody to know everything about everything. I certainly don't, but I do know the people who are into those topics and that I trust to make good judgments about them, and I will consult them. Like we all need our personal consultants.
Yes. Oh, yes, we all do. Thank you. I get it. So let's just get right into it then. Why are you upset about Kristi Noem? She did a great job as the governor of North Dakota. I forget my name. Which Dakota?
What has she done well in South Dakota?
Well, what do you mean? She signed tax cuts. Wasn't she for education choice? And she was not a tyrant like so many other governors were. Yes, she made that decision after the legislature turned her down, after she tried to be a tyrant, but then she backed off. As you and I well know, Camelia, I think that top 5 pandemic governors definitely puts you into the top 5 of Republicans for the picks for Donald Trump's cabinet, in my opinion. You seem to disagree.
Sure. I do disagree. And I disagree because of her previous voting record, because I do think that there are people who come to power in spite of themselves, or they come to power because, they may have certain advantages, shall we say.
She's hot.
And pretty privileged.
Yes. It's like AOC's giant socialist titties.
Right. God. But I will say that, you don't necessarily always get there. You get there in spite of your principles. And I'm not saying she's completely unprincipled, but I do think that, her policies in South Dakota have been because of her legislature. And she has been, that she's had that buffer that has allowed her to have that appearance of being that way. Because, I just did a real quick search because I knew that can't remember if it was Massey or Amash that had talked about that they were in the House at the same time she was. And if people have forgotten, she was in the U.S. House of Representatives. Mm-hmm. So we have a voting record on her. Her voting record was pretty darn bad. A quick look this morning, her Heritage scorecard lifetime was 58%.
Well, wait a minute. Why are we using Heritage rather than like the Cato Institute or some of the ones that actually agree with people like you and I? We're not conservatives.
Yeah.
Noem stood out during the COVID-19 pandemic for her refusal to implement statewide mask mandates, lockdowns, or business closures. She has consistently pushed back against federal overreach on issues like land use and environmental regulation. She opposed federal attempts to regulate water rights and control prairie land under the Clean Water Act. She signed a law allowing constitutional carry in South Dakota. She's promoted policies to reduce occupational licensing requirements. Noem has shown support for expanding school choice. She also opposed federal vaccine mandates. What's your beef, CJ?
I just think that she is, I would think that she is opportunistic. And, that's fine. If we get opportunistic people and they're doing the things we want, I'm okay with that too, right? I just don't, I'm not sure that she would have been the best pick. If you start adding it up with some of the others that are coming out, like I am trying to reserve judgment. And some of these are like a lot of these, even Kristi Noem's, I don't know that he has formally announced that. So I don't know if that's really confirmed that he's made that selection. Same thing with Marco Rubio and this other guy, Waltz guy, that anyway apparently is a neocon. So anyway, it is. We'll see.
You notice
judgment.
Let's talk about neocons. Marco Rubio named as a potential pick for Secretary of State. I see a lot of libertarians very angry about this. It seems though as if many libertarians learned the wrong lessons about what's been going on the last few months. Many of them jumped on board the Trump train in like the final days, and then they assumed that they would be the ones who would get to tell Donald Trump who to pick. This whole concept of no neocons in the cabinet, it's been kind of, I don't know. I mean, painful and just sort of exhausting watching them, like so many libertarians being like, I don't know, surprised by the picks that Donald Trump has made. Like, did you not listen? Like they listened to him on Joe Rogan and then they learned the complete wrong lessons about John Bolton and all these other things, right?
Well, here's the thing too, and I think that this is so I have not looked this up yet, but I would like to know what the difference is between the number of libertarian votes that Chase lost in this election compared to the last presidential election for libertarians and the number that Trump won by. Do you know what I'm saying? I would like to see that comparison just as maybe a little gauge of how much libertarian support Trump got and whether or not that really truly did make the difference. Because I think that what would assuage a lot of that angst would be if he would have even just like done one appointment right off the bat of the people that had been surrounding him. We're talking like RFK Jr., we're talking, Vivek Ramaswamy, like all those people that have been around him that have excited libertarians. Like, I do think that there is an onus there to, at least do something to give a little something back there, because I'm not completely, he might have gotten across the finish line without the small L and a lot of big L libertarian.
Rand Paul didn't even endorse him though. Rand Paul didn't even endorse him, did he? I think Rand Paul actually did not actively endorse Donald Trump. I'm pretty sure.
I don't think Rand Paul actively did. Massey came out near the end and did.
Massey did, right? So then you could say, okay, well, then if Massey did, then he should perhaps listen to Massey a little bit. That being said, Massey did campaign against him with Ron DeSantis, and I'm sure that was quite annoying to Donald Trump, right? But there's this lack of an understanding. Now I'm going to switch scenes here because I got a new computer. So I'm still working out some of the bugs on this one, guys. You won't see the scene immediately. But I want to play a clip for the audience. If you could just be patient for just a moment, Camelia, while I get the video screen up. I have it up here. I want to play oh shoot, hold on one second. Can you blast me with something? Chrome videos.
I will say, on this, I've been pretty consistent. I feel like, the whole time, cautiously optimistic, shall we say, right? But also recognizing that how important it is who Trump has around him, and that we will gauge his success by whether or not he does things differently in the people he selects this time. So that's what I've always been watching, and we'll continue to watch, and we'll see. Like, well, I love expect him what he's saying, though.
Right, I expect, but I do expect him to. I do expect him to, like, to name like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, and they're not one of us. They're not libertarians. They're just outsiders' expectations. Would that make you happy? If he named one of them to high positions, even though they're not ideologically aligned with us?
I think they are ideologically aligned on some of the important things that drove the momentum behind this for libertarians and people like this because of some of their specific issues. So yeah, I do think that would, because what I think it demonstrates about Trump, like his thing is like been loyalty, right? He demands loyalty of his people. He is not always demonstrated loyalty to the people who support him, though. And that's kind of the irony here. And I think that's part of what I'm looking for as well, is that from him.
Well, the loyalty goes one way because it's the laws of power, right? And you never outshine the king. Never outshine the king. That's what it is. You don't do that. Right? Or it's like Louis XIV. The guy thought that he would throw a huge party. He would make himself look amazing. He would name Louis XIV as the guest of honor. The next day after the party, Louis XIV clapped him in irons, right? We don't always get to choose who the king is. Sometimes kings aren't even elected, right? They're the kings, and you have to operate within the rules of the laws of power. But libertarians don't want to operate within the laws of the rules of power. They think that we can create some outside the typical rules of power situation, and then we wonder why we get our hopes are dashed upon the rocks every single time. And then in this election, it seems as if libertarians again are taking the wrong lessons, just like many Democrats are taking the wrong lessons. For example, when I heard this on Donald Trump's interview with Joe Rogan, I took a completely different lesson than many other libertarians did. Let's take a listen. Here we go. John Bolton. Okay. So, Camellia, what did you learn from that discussion from John Bolton? Did you learn that Donald Trump is not going to have neocons in his cabinet, and that he's calling him out for being wrong and bad, or did you learn something else? Was there something else that Donald Trump was telling us there?
There were two things that I took away from that when I listened to it at the time. Yeah. And so one thing, I was glad to hear him admit that John Bolton's not ideal and might have been a mistake. However, because he basically did, he basically indicated that he said it, I think a little earlier than that there were some choices that he made that he didn't know everything about them right up front. Right. And so in hindsight, maybe he would have chosen differently. However, there is also that little part where he talks about that you put somebody like that in a position like that because of the effect that they have. Does that outweigh? I'm not sure if that's what you're taking from this. My assumption is that's kind of what you're going for, but does that outweigh having somebody who's not, a warmonger in there? I don't.
Yeah, no, I think that and it sounds like unfortunately the audience couldn't hear the clip but you could, and that's but anyways,
we've all heard Trump talking about Bolton, right? And he was
he says that he didn't
saying that he was nuts.
Yeah, that he was nuts, but that he was good in a certain way. And in the way
Right.
that he was good, Donald Trump used him as the stick portion of sticks and carrots diplomacy, right? You can't have diplomacy. Listen, there's no diplomacy if you're weak, if you're not strong, then how do you argue from a position of weakness, right? You can't. You have to argue from a position of strength, right? If you didn't argue from a position of strength, then nobody has any reason to listen to you unless you have some form of leverage, right? So John Bolton was leverage. What the heck? Oops, excuse me. Hold on one second. It's about leverage. So John Bolton was leveraged because people thought he was insane and they were afraid that he was going to attack them. My guess is that Donald Trump wants fewer wars, that he doesn't want the United States intervening around the world to the degree that neocons do, but that by hiring neocons and having them in his cabinet, he keeps them under control so long as they're loyal. And he uses them as the stick part of the sticks and carrots part of diplomacy. But I mean, I saw people posting these tweet threads like, "Oh, no neocon. I thought we were gonna have no neocons." Like, are you fucking stupid? Are you so stupid? You did not learn. You learned the wrong lessons. This is why we will continue to lose until we adopt the rules of power, the lessons of strategy. If my listeners aren't reading or listening to Robert Greene. Like if you're an activist and you're not listening or reading to Robert Greene and the 33 strategies, the rules of war, and you're not listening to the strategies of power, the laws of power and the laws of attraction, then you will never date Camellia Peterson. You will never attract.
Well,
you will never get a date with Camellia Peterson. You will never get a date with Camellia Peterson until you read Robert Greene's Laws of Seduction. Go ahead, Camellia.
That's so hilarious. I was like, the last Robert Greene little thing I saw pop up on Instagram was something about it was the thing he says about using your weirdness or what makes you different or whatever, because that's what will make you successful. And I'm like, oh, well, I wonder if that's working for me yet.
Yeah, you awkward little nudge. Right, but like speaking of learning their lessons, it seems as if some Democrats
in the world. People are saying life's not fair. I'm not doing well. My son's still living in the basement. I can't seem to get a job. I don't like the status quo. I'm voting for something else. And he was
I
the person.
love you to life,
I love you. Oh.
but I do not believe that. I cannot believe that.
They do not believe that. And not only do they not believe it, but they cannot believe it. Camellia, your reaction.
Well, let me tell you what I just did yesterday, because I believe it. It's the number one thing that we hear about from people is the economy. It's the economy, stupid. And I like let's just talk about homeowners insurance. So my homeowners insurance literally went up by over 30% here in the last couple of months. And that it is almost, because of the way the escrow accounts and things like that works, it's almost doubled my mortgage payment. And so like it is very real, and people are struggling. And it's not just me, like this is happening to lots of people. And so I'm in the bank and then in the insurance office, and we're having this conversation about, well, kind of hoping now that we've like turned this corner, maybe these things are going to start getting better. But I mean, it's unpredictable and not guaranteed, right? But the idea that a lot of people have is that under a Trump administration, we will go back to having a better economy, and it will be easier to afford all of these simple things, that now I've got to, like, I thought I was going to have a little extra breathing room, but no, not anymore, because I got to pay an extra, so many $100 a month just because of the insurance increase.
Most of us who had jobs were not keeping up with inflation before it was like 8% plus. Now we're, if you're not getting 10%, if you're not getting double digit increases every year, you're not keeping up with inflation and you're falling way behind. It's put a lot of us into difficult positions. What I think is interesting is the juxtaposition of the Trump AOC voter, right? You've got the people who vote for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and then the people who voted for Donald Trump. I mean, I think the bread and butter issues are definitely part of it, but there's got to be something else, because if economics was your bread and butter, you certainly wouldn't vote for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Donald Trump, right? What is that crossover voter of people who voted Democrat down ticket, Trump up ticket?
Well, I think on the Democrat side, that there are a ton of Democrats who have watched this whole debacle with Biden and his declining mental health in office, which was clearly declining when he took office. And then you're going through this and being, really you're cringing on the inside and being embarrassed at how your party is being represented on the international stage. And then what do you get next without having any say in it? you get Kamala Harris. And she's like just as embarrassing, can't string two sentences together. And is just like I think it's demotivating. And they spent what are they talking about now? Like they apparently thought that they could, I would be so insulted if I was a Democrat that with the idea that they thought they could buy me off with paying all of these entertainers millions and millions of dollars that they can't afford. With the and she out fundraised Trump by I don't know how much, it was a ton, but they can't afford to pay all of Oprah got $1 million to make a little appearance. Let's not talk
I
about all of these
know,
other
and she didn't even get the
singers.
most. I think I saw Megan Thee Stallion got like 3 million, and Oprah got 1 million. So apparently, Megan Thee Stallion has got more clout.
Oh, and it so a friend of mine put this on Twitter last night. It was so funny. It was like, and they had to cut Alanis Morissette. It's like, isn't it ironic, don't you think?
That's great stuff. If you're just tuning in the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm glad and thankful to have you here. I'm speaking to my friend Camelia Peterson, but we're not related, as you can see from her lovely name down there underneath her. It says S-O-N, and mine is S-E-N. We are both souls and sens, and we are not related. So get over it. That means that Camelia Peterson could be your friend if you follow her over at Rare Camelia on X. That's at Rare Camelia. One of the higher elected libertarians, people who actually hold office, right? One of the people that you would consider like a pretty hardcore libertarian like you and I, who actually is elected, has won elections, unlike me, apparently thinks I'm on fire this morning. I won't say who it is, but they just DM'd me and sent 3 of my tweets to me. I think they're probably too afraid to like the tweets because they don't want to get in trouble because, well, let's face it, I do sometimes make a few enemies by what I say publicly.
No.
Well, if you want to help, if you want to help people, tell them the truth. If you want to help yourself, tell them what they want to hear.
For sure.
This is the 3 tweets that the person sent to me. I said, libertarians heard Trump criticize John Bolton on Joe Rogan's show and learned the complete wrong lesson from it. They thought it meant that Trump was done with neocons, but the actual lesson was that he insults them to keep them in line, but he finds them useful as attack dogs to act as the stick portion of the sticks and carrots diplomacy he uses. Oh, so this person agrees with that. I'll tell you who it is later after the show. Then the other tweet he sent me that he agrees with was me responding to a leftist who said, MAGA hates transgenders, so why is Caitlyn Jenner the exception? And I posted and I said, well, much to the chagrin of the actual Nazis like Nick Fuentes and the Groypers, Trump and the MAGA movement have never hated trans people. They've only opposed them competing in women's sports or being in the women's bathrooms or reading to kids. So there I am on fire again, at least according to one of the highest elected libertarians. And I also said my expectation when it came to Trump's cabinet picks is that we would get as many libertarians in the Trump admin as we are represented by in the Republican Party. Little to none, right? My support for Donald Trump was placing a bet on the idea that we'd get a little, but I'm emotionally prepared to get nothing, Camelia. But I'm going to keep encouraging libertarians to join me in the GOP so we can increase our leverage for next time. I'd also encourage libertarians to run for office as Republicans. Even if you don't win, you'll learn valuable lessons in the art of the possible. Yes, I am on fire. Thank you for pointing it out, one of the highest elected libertarians in this country. I wish that they would retweet these posts, but I get it. Go ahead, Camille.
No, I think that's a fair assessment as far as the proportional representation issue, right? And we do have a lot of work to do. It does seem to be in, full credit, to Trump. I think the Republican Party has been trending away from being the pro-war party, specifically because of, his time in office and, the people that he has elevated to that in spite of the John Boltons, right? And I think that, when we talk about rhetoric versus actions, and this goes back to how people are now, hating on Reagan all the time, to and they say, oh, but he did this, this, and this, and this. And like, even for myself, I have to look at that and I have to say, okay, I need to apply this to Trump too, because I do believe that the rhetoric is really important, because if we just stop talking about that because we're not actually getting it, then it disappears from the consciousness of the American people, and you will never get it because those ideas, those seeds are not being planted and we're not making them more popular. And I think that that is a wonderful thing that came out of this presidential race, is that those ideas have been articulated so well and so much louder on the national and international stage than they have been since Ron Paul, right?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing, you bring up the whole Ronald Reagan question there, and we see a lot more Republicans who are calling him out, saying that, criticizing Reagan. What's fascinating is that the reason why they are criticizing Reagan is because they thought that he was too libertarian. That's not that it wasn't. Here's the, which is, if for me, it's fascinating because, I grew up and came of age in the libertarian movement. I remember like people talking smack about Ronald Reagan, but it was because of his 1986 gun law, his war on drugs, et cetera, spending too much on foreign policy. So I was used to criticisms of Ronald Reagan from the right, but I'm shocked that now it's in vogue in Republican circles to criticize Ronald Reagan from the left as a Republican. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
What the, what the, what I mean? It's kind of pissing me off. And then it makes me want to defend Reagan. That's actually, if you watch the Ronald Reagan commercial and not just listen to it, where he talks about his libertarianism, the quotes that I post in there in between, do you know who one of the quotes is from? Marco Rubio.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was too libertarian.
Yeah.
Because Ronald Reagan was too libertarian for these people. Bullshit. Bullshit.
And it is what we do. Like, it's the presentism, right? The people who tend to criticize him now are the people who did not live and are not looking at the context of the time in which he came to power, and what what things looked like at that point, and the Cold War, et cetera, et cetera. And also the fact that, by the way, when we talk about the president should not have so much power, well, we need to also apply that to the time, like he had to deal with, a legislature, right? And so, he couldn't, like, we don't want a president to be able to do everything single-handedly, because we will see, like, I'm sure that there are a lot of changes that Trump is going to make by executive order to get some things done. But we saw it when Biden came into office. That's how things got so bad so quick, is that with the stroke of a pen, he undid so many of the things that Trump had put into place. It's just too easy to do.
You're right. It's a great point. Thank you for making it, Camellia. Floby Tenderson says that made a donation. Thank you very much. And says, I need Camelia's P.O. box. Look, it's Liz even agrees. Headbands are hot. The WhitehangerBoutique.com has what she needs from a Trump voting woman. Yes, Floby, you can send it to 131 West High Street, number 711, Jefferson City, Missouri, 65101. That's 131 West High Street, number 711, JC Mo, 65101, and I will make sure that it gets to Camellia. Camellia, looks like you're getting it.
By the way, thank you. That's very nice. Nice ad. Good job, Floby. So one thing, by the way, of note, I think when we talk about progress that we make in terms of building the bench and getting more libertarian-minded people into those positions. So I saw Elon Musk just post this morning or last night maybe, that his America PAC that, he used so effectively this time around. He said, after elections, he made the point that a lot of PACs kind of fold and go away and whatever. He said, that's not happening. He said they are going to continue, and they are going to continue doing that work, and they are going to start playing in primaries as well, which is like really interesting. Like, we'll see what happens with that. But, it's fascinating to watch him dive into politics.
No, for sure. Just though, I mean, there's a lot of concern about the president. Neocons typically, they tend to be more aggressive militarily. But would you say that it's a fair bet, Camelia, that people who think Israel's committing genocide and that Osama bin Laden's attack on the United States was justified, do you think that that's pretty fair to assume that those people won't be serving in any role in any capacity whatsoever in the administration?
I would certainly assume so. I think that that's one of the, by the way, one of the things, not the Palestinian conflict issue, but that surprised me a little bit is that, Rubio and some of the others that, that are supposedly being put into positions is the support of Ukraine. And my assumption is that Trump will take a hard stance on that would basically override any of those people who have those leanings, because that's just, I think that the Republicans, like really the vast majority, have really spoken very clearly on their displeasure with all of the money and the equipment and everything that has gone to Ukraine while our own economy suffers.
Yeah, I can't agree with the spending of the money in Ukraine. But if he goes to the negotiating table with Putin and says, we're going to take all of our money out of spending and defending Ukraine, then what cards would he have to play to get Putin to actually agree to a truce?
I mean, it's true. I mean, that's, I don't know. I think that
Is that a political reality that we may have to face and deal with here coming soon, whether we like that or not?
Well, it may be a political reality, but I think it's also a question of whether or not, I mean, like, has anybody gone to the negotiating table at all? I think they have a little bit recently because it's become very clear that Ukraine is not going to win this thing. But, I think that he would have been willing to do that a long time ago. People would not have been happy with it as far as probably the outcome for Putin. That's not saying that what Putin is doing is a good thing, but it probably does speak to the realities in the region, regardless of how we feel about them.
Yes, thank you. Correct. So I'm begging my libertarian friends to read Robert Greene. I'm begging them. You know who gave me the Robert Greene book, the one that got me addicted to him? Missouri's own Paul Kurtman. That's right, yes. Paul Kurtman. Yes, my copy of the Rules of War is like all like tattered and stuff like that. That I've like read it and reread it, and there's like writings and highlights in it. It's such a fantastic book because not only does it talk about strategies to win politically, but strategies to win, but it's also about like some of the tactics, certain important tactics to win, right? And I think that I think for too long we have allowed ourselves to be so enmeshed into the philosophy, into the dogma, into the religion of liberty that we have forgotten the tools of liberty, the practicality that is required.
So I think that and I think that is what most people who are libertarian minded struggle with, because it is such a, it's an ideology, right? And it's a party. Well, sure, it's a party too, but like, it's by virtue of its principles, I hope. Mm-hmm. But I think it's the idea that in order to deal with the realities of life, it feels like you have to embrace things that are contradictory to the principles that you hold. And that's really hard for a lot of people to hold those contradictory ideas at the same time, which I think, is probably a sign of intelligence that you're able to. But I do think that it is something that we have to do, because there are things that are not always, things are not black and white, right? So I think that, we've talked about it many, many, many times. Life is a series of trade-offs, and the sooner that we accept that, the better off we will be, and probably the more progress we will make. But I do think that it also is important, like this balance and everything, right? We have to understand that, but I think we never stop, talking about that North Star of the ideas and the principles of liberty and individual liberty and responsibility. Like, we cannot leave the responsibility part out. But I think it's really important for that rhetoric to continue, and then our principles have to live in reality.
Yeah, for sure. Camelia, we're running out of time, but I did have one other last question that I wanted to ask you. Did you see that Melania Trump was refusing to sit down for tea with Dr. Jill Biden, as is tradition for first ladies. Yes. So it's the tradition for first ladies to have tea with one another in the White House in the outgoing
What the
incoming
heck? Like,
administrations.
this is not England. Why are we sitting down to have tea?
We should
Just
be having
drink
Founding
coffee
Flavors
like
coffee,
a freaking
damn it.
American.
That's right. And if you're not drinking Founding Flavors, then get out.
No,
But
that's interesting.
yes,
a little
but
bit
here's the
surprising
thing.
maybe,
So,
but interesting.
well, here's the thing. So the New York Post is citing an anonymous source familiar with the decision, reports that the First Lady will not attend because of lingering bitterness over the FBI's raid of Mar-a-Lago. Jill Biden's husband authorized the FBI snooping through her underwear drawer, the source claimed. The Bidens are disgusting. Wow.
So
Kinda
I
understand.
that. Like, I kind of understand that too. Although, the thing I would prefer to see her do is to walk in there and just, I mean, because that Jill Biden hates it. Although, let's talk about, I think Jill Biden also might be mad at her party too. I mean, that red dress that she wore to go vote in. Who knows what's going on there.
Amelia, have you ever
But,
have you ever watched The Sopranos?
no. Well, yes.
Okay. There was a scene when Paulie Walnuts, he's the guy, Father Robert Sirico, the actor, he had like the silver hair with, or he had like the black hair with like the silver sides and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And he's shaking down the apartment of one of the guys below him, right? Michael. And he goes into his girlfriend's drawer and smells her underwear, doesn't think anybody's watching him, right? And you can actually compare that same situation. You can imagine that a few FBI agents going through Melania Trump's drawer. I would, if I were Melania Trump, I probably would do the same thing. And here's the thing: there's no reason for them to have to play nice, because what do we have, Camellia? The White House, the Senate, the House, the Supreme Court, and the popular vote. We have a mandate, don't we?
There is a mandate. So, we will see what these first 2 years bring, because our gripe last time was the first 2 years we had it all and the stuff didn't get done that should have gotten done. So it is, what the party looks like, I think after this coming 4 years is going to hinge a lot on what gets done in these first 2 years. And I think that we will be looking at that as to which direction are we going to go as far as who's effective.
There we go. Camellia Peterson, we appreciate you very much. Thank you. Glad we were able to make this happen today with my crappy internet, but we'll see you again on Thursday, okay?
Okay.
Get some rest.
Everyone.
You've earned it. You're not done resting. Take some naps. See you later.
And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children, because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money.
Yeah, buddy. All right, take a quick break. I got to go get a drink of water to go pee for liberty. Don't go away. We've got lots more liberal meltdowns when we get back. It's the Wake Up America show. Go shopping. Go to 4libertyshop.com. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
If I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
Legislative power, we have no executive power, we have no judicial power. So when you're out of power, you're an opposition party. And go and tell all of the people that are sending you and asking you for money, justify what you did wrong, and tell us what you're going to do different. Because
what's going on with James Carville's cat in the background there? Are you hearing that? Good morning. Rise and freedom. Did you know that James Carville, a little bit of history, a little trivia for you guys. James Carville's wife, Mary Madeline, actually endorsed me for president of the United States back in 2016. The Democrats are fleeing, running for the hills, asking themselves, why did we lose the election? Was it the economy? Was it the whole transgender people playing in women's sports? Was it maybe a little bit of both? Probably both, please. Yes, both. The great wailing and gnashing of teeth is throwing up in the country. Loyalty really is the common thread, however. As Trump is filling foreign policy and immigration jobs, Trump settles on GOP lawmakers for key posts in a bid to avoid the infighting that frustrated him in his first term. President Donald Trump is president-elect, We can still call him president. He was the president. Still your president. In 2016, I remember somebody posted this meme of SpongeBob SquarePants where he looks like a redneck and he's like, still your president. He had like his mouth full of like tobacco and he's like, he's still your president, right? And at the time I was kind of annoyed by it, but now I kind of get it and I agree. He's still your president. And a bunch of chewing tobacco. Trump has asked Representative Mike Waltz of Florida, a former Armored Green Beret, like my dad. Good morning, Dad. Happy Veterans Day yesterday. Who shares the former president's views on illegal immigration and skepticism of America's support for Ukraine. There you go. To be his national security advisor, the job which Trump has elevated to cabinet rank doesn't require Senate confirmation. President Trump is also expected to nominate Senator Marco Rubio to be Secretary of State, according to people familiar with this thinking. Rubio has differed with Trump over the importance of alliances and favors confronting China and Iran. But like Trump, he has called for ending the war in Ukraine. So it's a mixed bag on the Rubio front. Glad to have you here. Please do click that like button. Whenever I see we've got 200 people joining us live like we do right now, I say, can we get just 50% likes? Can you
bless me with something?
Bless me with something.
Oh, gosh.
Likes-wise.
Please.
Can you suck it?
Yeah, just click the like button. If you're watching us over on X, you can actually press the heart button underneath the stream. Click on the stream and then press the heart button on it and then repost it so that it's in other people's feeds. We'd be very grateful if you would do so. Help us to support the Wake Up America show and our mission to support the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty. We love freedom and we love liberty and we love America, dang it. So if you love freedom and you love liberty and you love America, you're in the right place.
From now on, it's going to be America first, okay? America first.
Yes, Dad, my who's texting me right now, Kristi Noem, also is on the list of potential picks, and she was great when it came to COVID-19 mandates, pushing back against the Clean Water Act, fighting for constitutional carry, opposing occupational licensing requirements, supporting school choice, and opposing vaccine mandates. Kristi Noem. She's not perfect. Nobody is. If you wanted perfect, you could have voted for me in 2016 or 2018. But did you? Some of you didn't. I know you didn't. God. Boo, boo, bow to the queens of slime. There's your perfect candidate for you. Austin, will you ever run again? Hell no. Get away from me with that shit.
No, God, please, no.
Take a pay cut? No, and it should be public service. Like your job is there. You're there to be bored, to be boring. Shut up. Just do the people's job. Just, make sure that the mail is delivered on time. That's all it is. You guys, we need to get a few people who will go be in the dull gray bureaucracies that we actually still do need. Like, like shuffling the papers at the Department of Defense or something. And that's not a job for me. You know what is a good job for me? It's Chris Wallace's job. I got Chris Wallace's job. Chris Wallace wants my job. Chris Wallace. Yes, Chris Wallace. He's leaving his CNN. Or maybe he got fired, actually. He's leaving CNN in order to start a podcast, which I would think probably not what he wants to be doing at a time like this. Here's my favorite Chris Wallace interview.
We have the 7th highest mortality rate in the world. Our mortality rate is higher than Brazil. It's higher than Russia, and the European Union has us on a travel ban.
Yeah, I think what we'll do, we have them on a travel ban too, Chris. I closed them off. If you remember, I was the one that did the European Union very early. But when you talk about mortality rates, I think it's the opposite. I think we have one of the lowest mortality rates in the world. We're going to take a look.
We had 900 deaths on a single day.
We will take a look.
This week.
Ready?
You can check it out.
Could you please get me the mortality rate?
Yeah.
Kaylee's right here. I heard we had one of the lowest, maybe the lowest mortality rate anywhere in the world. Do you have the numbers, please? Because I heard we had the best mortality rate.
The case rate of similarly situated countries, as Dr. Burks points out, and this is
Number one, low mortality rate. I hope you show the scenario because it shows what fake news is all about.
Yeah! Chris Wallace is going to start a podcast. Well, you got to beat the Wake Up America show. But, maybe he recognizes that this really is the future. More and more people are tuning into podcasts as fewer and fewer turn into stupid CNN like these.
Who don't believe boys should play girls' sports.
They're not boys. I'm not going to listen to transphobia at this table. I am not going to listen to you call a trans girl a boy.
Are you going to allow me to finish my explanation?
It's transphobia. It's transphobia to call a girl a boy. It's transphobia to call a girl a girl. Soy boys. Soy boys. Are they soy boys or are they soy girls? Or are they trans soy?
Don't believe boys should play girls' sports.
They're not boys. I'm not going to listen to transphobia at this table. I am not going to listen to you call a trans girl a boy.
Are you going to allow me to finish my explanation?
When you use a word that's a slur, I'm going to interrupt. That's not how it is. They're not boys. They're not boys. They're not playing girls' sports.
Please put that guy in charge of the Democrats. They're not boys. It's transphobia. I'm not going to listen to it right now.
I'm not going to sit there and listen
for a second because look, this is a really heated issue, right? And Michael, I know you. I know that you understand.
I know you're super gay. Thanks for asking.
That people have different views on this. I think out of respect for Jay.
I love the title that they have on the CNN piece, Guns, Gods, and Gay. Nancy Pelosi says guns, God, and gays culture issues led to loss. Tejaba Wonka.
Like, let's.
God, I'm having so much fun. Are you guys having fun? Click the like button, damn it. This is fun.
Try to talk about this in a way that is respectful.
Okay, so let me rephrase this since I'm being targeted here.
I don't. Just to be clear, you are not being targeted.
I am, but it's okay.
I specifically.
Yeah, exactly, because he's a black man, but the transgenders are a more protected class than the black man. So you could call the black man transphobe, call him whatever you want, but he's not being targeted, right? No, they're not targeting the black conservative. He's not like one of the biggest dangers to their entire worldview and everything they stand for. And black men didn't just vote for Donald Trump in record numbers.
I'm saying that I know that you are not intending to be transphobic.
He should know that I'm not. But he wants to sit here and
transphobic. I'm saying you're using a phrase
I want to
that
give
you
you an
know.
opportunity.
So the way regular people interpret it,
that's not regular people. That's not regular people. There's no consensus that these are actually boys. This whole thing about trans girls is a canard. We're talking about a tiny, tiny sliver of the population.
That may be the
and we're
case,
using
but
that
my point in
to
terms
take
of
away
its
healthcare from
effectiveness.
thousands of people.
Hold on, just get to your point.
My point in terms of its effectiveness. Regular people with children look at these things and they say, you know what, this is a bit too far. I do not agree with this. I don't like this. I think Democrats are going way too much to the left on social issues. They're uncomfortable with it. A lot of people
can't listen to this transphobia. Listen to this transphobia. Silence, black man. Oh, yes. Some Democrats learning their lessons, some Democrats not. They're doubling down, they're tripling down, they're crying into their cell phones on Instagram. Delicious. Where's the sexy button? Hey, guys, I got something for you. I've got a website that you need to visit. It's my website, forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4. libertyshop.com. We've got so much cool stuff like an Occupy Mars Adidas hoodie for the low price of $69.69. Check it out. Hey, you think, oh, that is so expensive. Well, you know why? Because guess what? I know you want the coupons, so go save the money and do the spin to win at the bottom of the screen. You'll see it pop up. You can spin to win, and you can win like 5, 10, 15, 20% off, $5 off of your hoodie, and then you won't have to pay $69.69. This is an Adidas hoodie. This is not just an average, oh crap hoodie that they printed something on. This is Adidas. We've got high quality products. I sell you good stuff at forlibertyshop.com. Why you gotta make life so hard? Good stuff. forlibertyshop.com. Go to forlibertyshop.com and check out our awesome new line of Department of Government efficiency merch, like our Doge vinyl stickers, field agent tees, field agent hoodies. You can become an agent of enforcement. The Department of Government Efficiency new products over at forlibertyshop.com. But the reason I came was because I thought that liberal tears were something that you might want to catch in abundance. You can catch them in our Liberal Tears mug. If you go to forlibertyshop.com and type in Liberal Tears, not only can you get an awesome mug, but here's what I recommend that you guys get instead of the mug, because it costs more and I'll make more money. No, just kidding. It's also, yes, well, that's true. But also the For Liberty shop has these awesome Camelback water bottles. These are the super high quality ones that have the little drinky winky out of the top. This is what you want, guys. If you exercise at all like me and you like to work out, these are the ones you want because it comes with the straw embedded in there, so you don't have to worry about like spilling all over the place. So a lot of these like thermoses and things like that, they can spill out everywhere. I've got a brand thermos, but it's for coffee. If you need one for water, then get the Liberal Tears Camelback water bottle at forlibertyshop.com. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Go to forlibertyshop.com, guys. Get yourself something real nice. I said a real nice.
But you can't scream about democracy and then have a guy run the table like this and not say, well, it's a mandate, right? Is that right or wrong? Is it a mandate?
Yes, the Harvard Institute of Politics student president came out with an op-ed today talking about how they weren't going to forego democracy for the sake of nonpartisanship. Set aside that they might have wanted to talk to a lawyer before saying their nonprofit was now going to be a partisan organization. But the idea that you're going to be pro-democracy by not giving a voice and allowing other students to hear from speakers that belong to the party that just won through a democratic process, like that's where the left has a problem. They become the party of the faculty lounge. They're so condescending. They're so arrogant. And again, not to beat the dead horse, the whole point is to be exclusionary. They're not accidentally exclusionary. It's the mission statement.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw Kamala was on Saturday Night Live, as the losing candidate often is. It worked so well for Hillary. Let's run that back. And it just made me think, I'm sure every single member of the Saturday Night Live cast was a Harris supporter. But what if one of them wasn't? What if one of those cast members was for Trump? Would they have felt comfortable saying so? I really don't think so. They would have had to keep it to themselves. That's not a good place for us to be. I remember when, and that happens even more on the left. And I remember when Elon...
Can you bless me with...
This is 3 or 4 years. He was just the richest man in the world. And a number of the cast members on Saturday Night Live, like, they didn't want to deal with him. They didn't exactly boycott, but they made it plain. And I was thinking, really? You have Elon Musk on your show for a week. You could talk to one of the most interesting, brilliant people the world has ever produced, even about this issue that bothers you so much, that he's so rich and lots of people aren't. But no, you don't want to even deal with him. That's what I hate about the left. You're brats.
It's been a good show. Internet bill is going to be pretty pricey on my phone, but we did get through it. It's the Wake Up America show, and I'm Austin Peterson. Guys, can you bless me with something? Yeah, I want you to visit the shop, and the reason why I love it when you go over there and you make a purchase is because when you do, it helps support freedom, because I use that money that I make, if I'm not spending it on baby formula, I use that money to reinvest back into freedom. And people who are supporting me financially and contribute to me financially, typically they tend to know. If you've never made a contribution to the Wake Up America show, today's the day. I'm conditioning you to start doing it, right? And then you'll do it more, hopefully, in the future. But here's the thing, like, you got to understand that there aren't a lot of people that go out there and are like as active in the real world as much as they are online. But Austin Peterson goes to the meetings. Austin Peterson goes to the regional conventions. Austin Peterson goes to the state conventions. Austin Peterson makes his voice heard. So think of me as like your representative. So when you're supporting the Wake Up America show, you're not just supporting a podcast, you're supporting 3 podcasts, because we have Culturama and Liberty Tonight. We've got 2 more shows at forlibertynetwork.com. We've got a documentary film that I'm working on. My first documentary film, feature length. And I also am going to show up to all the rest of the county meetings for the Republican Party. And I'm going to try and encourage people to join their Republican parties. And I'm going to encourage people to work together and to be more active so that we can have more people who believe what we believe in economic freedom and personal liberty. So I'm asking you today to contribute. Ideally that you become a monthly supporter and that you do so right now, immediately. Now is the time for you, for the Patriots, to join together. And listen, if you're not going to donate today, I get it. I understand. Not everybody can. So here's what I'll ask from you then. Blood, sweat, and tears equity. I'll ask you to show up to your county meeting. I'm going to ask you to start showing up to your local GOP town meeting at the coffee shop. You may think it doesn't pay off, but it might pay off 5 years from now, may pay off 10 years from now. Maybe you're going to know somebody, you're going to be able to say, hey, Austin, guess what? I'm in a position now where I can really affect change. I hear from people, for the last 20 years I've been doing this activism, I hear from people, they're like, wow, look at me, I'm a leader in my community, and it's because Austin Peterson inspired me to do so. So that's what I'm going to ask from you today. If you don't become a monthly supporter of my show, if you won't contribute to me financially, which you should do both, and you can't afford to do so, then I'm asking you to get involved in your local community and step up and be a voice for reason. Go to your town councils, be diplomatic, be kind, shake hands, even people that you disagree with, reach across the aisles. Let's take what we have and let's build on it. So if you want to support the show financially, the best way to do so, go to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Those Christmas cards will be coming out for the Peterson's Patriot level people. Keep an eye on those in the mailbox the next few weeks. And we'll see you guys right back here again tomorrow, internet willing, on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Bye, guys. See you later.
Haunted by high prices and big government? Don't be a ghost of your former self this Halloween. We've got shirts that'll keep the ghouls and the government off your back. Inflation's scarier than any haunted house. But hey, why not turn it into a costume? Or how about our spooky government shirt? Guaranteed to spook anyone who's afraid of too much power. But if you're feeling real edgy, nothing says Halloween like our Michael Myers No Lives Matter shirt. Cause when it comes to big government, we all get slashed. At forlibertyshop.com, we believe in freedom, not fear. So grab your libertarian Halloween gear before the government takes an extra bite out of your wallet. Or your candy. forlibertyshop.com. Let's make Halloween tax-free.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit apforlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.